So all the sessions and all the speakers that you've heard today had a very important common thread, and that was around customers. Last Impact, we really talked to you about our focus on customers, on each of you, and what we wanted to do to share best practices moving forward. And so I'm very pleased to show you some results that we've been working on since the last Impact. Announced today is the Wintergreen study, and it shows that since last year that we have gained about 11 points of market share in the SOA market space. That has been, thank you. That's over 6,550 customers, many of you guys still here today in this arena. That translates into 450 references. You know, I've been to about 57 countries around the world talking about SOA. And as I go, customers want to hear from other customers. So we've got references, the two great ones you heard today, as well as over 450 references that are public on our website. And in this Impact 2008, you'll see over 268 customer speakers. You know, many conferences don't even have 270 speakers. We have 270 customer speakers here today. Now, what do we do with all those great best practices? What we've been doing is we've been embedding those best practices and those lessons learned into our portfolio, into things like our key agility indicators in three major areas: human capital management, supply chain management, as well as financial management. Those agility indicators are based on your best practices and what you have done. We've also embedded those best practices, those smarts, if you would, back into our portfolio, into our foundational products. And that has led us to leadership in categories in over 10 of the recent analyst evaluations. Now, if you think about deployment of SOA, Steve Mills and Tom talked about Smart SOA and that deployment. You can see that the maturity of customers has started to grow. While there are about 60% of those deployments today that are in that basic stage, that beginning stage, we already have about 30% of the customers who have matured and are now into that end-to-end process, or turning that organization on its side that Steve Mills talked about. And this applies to every one of you in the audience today, both large customers, medium customers, and small customers. So what you've seen is that unrivaled customer experience that no other vendor has today, fed back into those smarts, fed back into our thought leadership and into our portfolio. So one of the things I wanted to announce for you today, something I'm really excited about, and something I hope that you're going to be really excited about. It's something called our Smart SOA social network. Now, what is this Smart SOA social network about? Well, it's really about you. It's about connecting you to each other. And it's based on the foundation that we laid last year. So let's take a look at it. The Smart SOA social network is focused on, first and foremost, sharing best practices globally throughout the world, by role. It's used to accelerate your deployment of your SOA projects and to bring together what Robert started us out on, which was business and IT focused and working together. Now, this Smart SOA social network is built upon the strong foundation that we laid last year. And that was, we announced a community, a set of communities, one around developers and architects. We have 120,000 developers and architects that come every month to our SOA space, every month. We also have now over 134 universities that are teaching SOA. Folks like UNLV, the marching band that you saw this morning, who now have solid curriculum around service-oriented architecture as well as business process management. And of course, our business partners. This doesn't happen without a strong ecosystem. We have the world's largest and strongest and most talented business partner community, over 5,000 business partners. And I want to acknowledge that yesterday we announced a set of partner awards for those core and key partners that we had. Yesterday, 4 Impact Awards were announced, going to Ascentant, Cordient, Nortel, and Ingram Micro. And of course, our Beacon Award winner, one of the most coveted partner awards, went to Prolifics, and we announced that yesterday. Now this is our solid foundation, the base of communities that we're going to be building on top of to form our social network. So let's take a quick peek. The communities that we talked about are there, and what's missing, Steve talked about it earlier, is an ESB, right? How do you link those communities together? Not exactly an ESB, but a way to socially connect, to globally connect those communities together. So let me give you an example. We recently had a university professor who wanted to use some real customer case studies as they were teaching their class. We had a customer who was looking for best practices in building projects and business cases. They needed to be able to connect together across the communities. So the first new news in our Smart SOA social network is to connect those communities together in a social fashion. The second piece of our news is to enhance the skills that we offer and that we focus on. This is still a major inhibitor for the deployment of SOA. And then finally, last but not least, is role-based. And what's a role? Well, everyone in here forms many roles within their corporation. Maybe an architect or a developer, line of business, business analyst, and we know that you want to speak in your language. So we're going to add more roles to our community. In addition to architects and developers, we're going to add in line of business by industry, as well as a focus on business analyst. So let's take a quick peek at how this might work. These are all the roles that we just talked about. You can see here the architects, the developers, the executives. Now let's say that an architect, let's call him Joe, let's say that he belongs to a Twitter group. That might be his social network tool of choice. And so he goes to his Twitter group and he says, I really want to find out more about that process integrity and transaction processing that Steve Mills was talking about, because I have a project coming up